Be careful.
He's and Scott Higgins, both of them coked up out of their minds.
Listen to you. He's down in the basement.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
I think we should call this the Acement.
The Acement,
Yeah.
yes.
What do you think there, huh?
I like that. The Acement Studios.
Excuse me, I'm drinking beer. Hold on a second.
We usually drink bourbon on our end
Yeah,
when we
right.
do the podcast, so
That's all right.
feel free to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, exactly. You shoot an 8-ball if you want. We don't care. As long as it's good stories.
Welcome to the Acement, everybody. It's time to go behind the funny. This is Scott Higgins.
And this is Ace Aceto.
That's right. We're hitting the ground running tonight.
Yes, we are.
Ace Aceto Productions here in the Acement. He's not wasting any time.
I don't fuck around, do I?
He brought out that big board and click. Time to go, father muckers.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Oh, here we
I
go.
got to find my sound. Hold on.
You got a soundboard. You got to have this shit ready.
Yeah, but there's 18 pages
put it
on
in your favorites.
All right, hold on. Calm the down.
Nailed it.
I knew I'd find it.
Finally.
Listen, what are you going to call the cops on me? All right. I know. Oh, it's a wacky morning zoo.
That's right. Weather
right.
on the 10s, weather and traffic.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for listening. Thanks for telling a friend.
Thanks
for
for
helping us grow.
Thanks for the 5-star written reviews.
Yeah, we got another one recently. I
Yes.
love it. And
But I hope you guys have we've had some incredible episodes lately, and I hope you guys enjoyed them as much as we have. You know, sometimes I forget that we're putting this out for other people, and I get
that it's just not us drinking on a Wednesday or Thursday or whatever
but
day it is.
but I kind of fanboy out because I love talking to the guests that we have on. You know, Jonathan Groff was such a great conversation, and then we had so much fun. You know, with when Jason Pollock was on and when Frank Vignola was on, it's just we kind of get in a rhythm with these guys. We're talking, and it just feels like a conversation and so much fun.
And that's what we want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. You know? And Ace has got another great guest tonight.
Yeah,
but before we do that,
because he was here and now he's out of the green room, so we got to stall again. Our guests seem to have trouble with the computer machine.
It happens sometimes, but our bourbon date tonight, we actually finished off some. How do you say it?
Whistle pig.
What? Why are you saying it like that?
Saying it like what?
Putting so much emphasis on the H.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Say whistle.
Whistle.
Say whistle pig.
Whistle pig.
Any chance I get.
I know.
You
love baiting me like that. Clinkies. Cheers. Yeah, so...
but if you have a chance to try Whistle Pig, very good, very smooth bourbon. Comes from Vermont, actually, is where their distillery is.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
Yeah, excellent bourbon. So check that out. And as a backup, we have some Russells here in case we need it.
Just what we need.
To get through tonight's episode. But Ace has got a really fun guest, someone that you worked with at Catch a Rising Star.
Yeah,
when
when Catch a Rising Star had their club in Rhode Island, you may have heard us kind of reference that a few episodes ago. This guy was one of the guys that I got to work with. Really, really funny guy from New York, and I've been Facebook friends with him since. And then a couple of weeks ago, I was like, oh, shit, you know what? I should reach out to him and see if he wants to come on. And he said immediately, he said, yeah. And then now he's not on.
Well, it was great having him on tonight.
Yeah.
Never made it out of the green room, but
I don't know what happened. So he was in the green room. Everything was good. I looked down, and we were thanking everyone, as we always do. Thank our audience for listening and stuff. And then he disappeared.
And he said, "Fuck this shit," and got the hell out of it.
I don't know where he went. So why don't you talk for a second while I message him on the Facebook Messenger, and maybe I'll send it to I'm going to send it to his other email address and see if he gets that.
We had a fun weekend last Saturday.
Yes, we did.
Our buddy who has been on the podcast in the past, Bill Simus, there was a golf tournament to help out his mom. and
Yes.
his mom, who's going through cancer treatments for a second time, and a great organization called the Elmhurst Boys here in
Yeah,
Rhode
really
Island.
cool.
Really nice guys. They do different fundraisers for different groups here in Rhode Island. They pick somebody to donate to. He's back.
Cool. All right,
You
there he
know,
is.
and they did this one. They gave to Billy's mom to help them out with their expenses.
Yeah.
And Ace and put a team together and included me. I hadn't swung a club in about 5 years, which
Yeah.
showed. Actually, I didn't.
all right, we had fun.
I didn't play as bad as I thought.
And
but
neither did my buddy Paul.
And
Who
Paul-
Paul took his clubs out of the garage. There were cobwebs still on the
there,
bottom.
there was
of
mouse
his bag.
turds in his bag.
Yeah.
And you know what?
We had
It didn't
blast.
matter. We had so
Yeah.
much fun because these guys, everyone was roasting each other all
Nonstop.
day
Oh, yeah.
long, and we just had a blast. So that was a lot of fun, and that tournament raised a lot of money to help Billy and his mom out, which was really made it just a win-win day. All,
And
all
I
the way
somehow
around.
bid on a foursome. And outbid myself thanks to Billy.
Yeah,
that was good.
He basically made you bid more on
50
yourself.
$50 more.
You
against
bid
myself.
You had the winning bid, and then he made you bid more. That's what Bill. That's how good Billy is.
Gotta love friends like that.
But
All right.
anyway, let's bring our guest in.
Yes, we're gonna bring this guy in. As I said, I got to work with him at Catch a Rising Star years ago in Rhode Island, and very, very funny guy from the New York area. And I've been seeing some of his posts lately. I'm like, I got to get him on the show, and so he was available and willing, believe it or not.
Bring him in quick before we lose him again.
I know. And so, welcome to the Behind the Funny podcast, Mr. Johnny Iavarone.
Cheers, guys. Cheers,
Oh,
guys.
there it is. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers, man. What are you drinking? Red wine?
Call me a cab. I'm being Cabernet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And with a
nothing
name
like
like with a name like Johnny Iavarone, you think I'm gonna? What do you think I'm gonna be drinking?
I thought you'd be drinking a nice Chianti.
The Andy I was drinking when I was 4 years old. I mean, we moved
Yeah,
on
that's right,
to
yeah.
and black coffee. Welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Chianti was in his fucking bottle when he was growing up.
Right, yeah.
You know, it's so funny when I hear comedians talk about fundraising. I think we have raised more money for anyone else if you take it what
Yeah.
every comedian has done, because
Yeah.
it's such a simple and easy concept.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And yet, where's the fundraising for us?
No,
Yes,
no.
yes.
Yeah.
And-
You had how many comics that have no more nest egg anymore because of the pandemic and not being able to work for a year and a half, you know?
You know,
You know-
when was the last time cheerleaders or firefighters have done something for comedians to raise money?
Nope, you
It's
never
like-
see the cheerleaders at Kroger's or Stop and Shop canning for us.
No. I just got booked for a cheerleading fundraiser, and then
you
she was
really?
like, yeah. She was like, do you, she goes like, do you mind like giving me your credits? I'm like, it's a cheerleading fundraiser.
No one gives a
like,
shit.
I'm pretty sure they're not checking credits.
Yeah.
Like, really?
What kind
Like,
of
no,
credits do you need?
No. And this guy, he's been at the Borgata, but I don't know. I want to wait for the guy who's been to Vegas. Like, dude,
Yeah.
it's a cheerleading fundraiser that your
Yeah.
parents are too cheap to pay for, okay?
Yeah.
So
Hey,
you gotta
listen.
hire a guy to come into a room and make everybody else laugh because your husbands cannot do that for you, okay?
Well, listen,
I'm not bitter, though. I'm not bitter, Ace. I'm not bitter at all.
I
Well,
could-
listen,
I could
as
tell.
a former,
I could tell.
as a former cheerleading dad and a current dance dad, you have no idea how much that shit costs. Those goddamn costumes.
You're missing his point.
I know. I get the point, but it struck a nerve with me because I'm on both sides
Jo-
of that.
Johnny, I actually put a clip up online recently. I did a fundraiser last year for these guys that were raising money to do dental for underprivileged people, right? And I opened my whole set with saying, thank you so much for inviting people to entertain you that don't have health insurance, can't afford their own dental care. And I just roasted them for 5 minutes
Yeah.
for using us. And it got such a big reaction. I'm like, I'm going to put this on.
Yeah, right.
Here's the thing. They actually like it. Like, I don't get
yeah.
it. Like, people actually like being made fun of. Like, they just like, do him. Oh, do me next. It's like,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
the craziest thing.
Yeah.
But no, but the fundraisers, you have to admit there is something crazy about the fundraisers, because you get there and Ace, and you know this too. It's the best. It's the best way to raise funds.
Absolutely.
All you need is a square room, a microphone. It is the concept of it is unreal.
Yeah.
And yet you have. It's just unbelievable. And then you always have that gavone, that one gavone that takes all the food. It's like, dude, it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. Well, it's
I
funny.
love it. The best, Ace. I love it when they say this, like right at the end when they're just about to introduce you. And like, I try to go easy on the credits because there's something about, hey, so next he's going to be at the Mohegan Sun and he just came off the Carnival Cruise and he's doing a podcast with Ace Aceto. Hey, but let me just tell you something. Elks Club, make some noise, Elks Club. And you're going, and there's a big moose behind me.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
And I hate it when one time I was doing a fundraiser, but I'm not bitter. If you could hear me, I'm not bitter. It's a good thing. But I love it. One time I didn't ask the guy, but he goes just like this. He goes, this guy's a very funny guy. He's been doing it for like 22 years. And I'm going, dude, really? Nobody effing knows me.
No one
and
cares.
It's been 22 years. Like you just said this guy's a loser. This guy has been sucking at social media for 22 years.
Yeah. He just rubbed salt in the wound, right? No, but now see, here's the funny thing is, I don't know if it's like this down there. By the way, Johnny, you might want to go back in the house because your internet is getting spotty outside. But
I got kicked out by my wife because she doesn't like it when I raise my voice because I scare the dog. She doesn't like it when I live. She doesn't like it when I live.
And how dare you breathe? She's yelling at me in the background.
I'm good now.
All right.
You're breathing too loud.
So, in and out. No.
You're still doing that comedy thing? Don't you love it when people say that? You're still doing the comedy thing?
No, but down there, did you get people that would be like, hey, we really want to do a comedy night fundraiser. Can you donate your time and get a couple of other comics to donate their time next, on a Saturday or a Friday night? And then all of a sudden it's like, they paid the room fee, they paid the caterer, everyone else got paid, but the talent, the whole reason for people being there wouldn't get paid. And so that's why the guy that we were talking about started this company, because he wanted to show people that, no, there's a value to what we do as well, but then we go above and beyond and we provide not just a microphone, we provide stage, lights, sound, everything that you need. And we work with the client on how to raise money, how to go out and get sponsorships, stuff like that. So that kind of changed the landscape around here where I don't think I've gotten asked to do a free show in a long time. Now, don't get me wrong. If there is a really good cause, I have done some free things, but I can't do it every weekend. I literally would get 2 requests a week for a free show, and it was always Friday and Saturday. It's I can't do that.
It's infectious because you'll do it once, and then they mention it to somebody, and then someone else asks, and then that's it. It becomes an epidemic of people asking you to do free shows.
Or someone who's in the audience of that one says, hey, you did a favor for my friend. Can you do a favor for us? And then next thing you know, the worst is when you're talking to bookers, and they're like, hey, how about October 7th? Ah, shit, I got a free show that night.
Yeah.
And, let's face it, it is a job.
For me, and I think everybody has to go through their own journey to know, okay.
When is the time I say
When
no?
is the time? Yeah, because I was told that a lot. And I was, when you're coming up in the business, you just want stage time.
Exactly.
You just want to get on. So I wanted to do something to give back. My sister unfortunately passed away of breast cancer, and she loved comedy. She was just a comedy warrior. She loved it. She loved smart comedy.
Yep.
And I wanted to give back. This was like 10 years ago, and I approached the company that gives benefits to people going through it, yoga lessons, everything. And I said, hey, I'll get the comics. I'll donate the time.
Yep.
Just pay the headliner minimum.
Yep.
And she says, okay, I did everything. I went out there. I got the place. I got the blah, blah, blah. I put the word out. It was a huge success.
Yep.
Literally, I think for $200, she raised, I think it was like $5,000 that night. Everybody was happy. Everybody was happy.
Nice.
The following year, I said, would you like to do it again? In fact, halfway through the performance, in fact, that's why I always say it. It's your own journey. She goes, we have to do this again. This is unbelievable. Everybody's laughing. So I said, okay. I get a different headliner. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll host the show. We'll do a middle. We'll get a different headliner. Mm-hmm. Twice as many people came out.
Yep.
They raised a little bit more money.
Mm-hmm.
And just like this, I'm going, this is the right thing to do.
Right.
Third year, real world kicks in. I'm starting to get booked. You know, I just did a show with Ace. Everybody's telling me, you worked with Ace. You worked with Ace. Everybody's like, you're the guy who worked with Ace. I'm starting to get famous now. And I said, all right, calm down. It's back to me. And they're like, you worked with Ace, right? And I was like, yeah.
That's how it happened for me too.
And the bookings and the calls are starting to come in. I'm talking about, and I'm serious when I tell you, Elks Club, VFW, you know, Salvation Army.
The nice places.
These are really, but I'm starting to get bookings. And I said, it's so funny how we love to roast ourselves.
Oh yeah.
But it's so funny because the third year I called her and I said, listen, and out of the goodness of my heart, I said, listen, I'll tell you what, I said, I'm starting to, that's probably her right now because she's probably driving drunk. Believe me, after the third show, she was, but is that my wife again?
No. Go ahead.
You know, it figures I finally get it on Ace's podcast and my wife upstages me. You know, it's
not the first time.
But the third time I reach out to her and I say, hey, listen, just so you know, starting to get some calls. I'm starting to get some dates filled. Listen, if you want to do it again, I'll definitely. And there's a secretary on the phone and she goes, I'm sorry. Sorry to say, they already had it.
They went with someone else?
They went. Now, this was in the local paper.
Yep.
The two shows were a huge success. I go, I don't mind, but why didn't you tell? She goes, well, you know, she goes, the secretary is talking. She goes, well, they wanted to have a female comic. And I said, no problem.
Yeah,
we had met, but I could have done. So she goes, so they had a female comic and they had it at a bigger place. And she was so dirty that most of the people walked out.
Wow.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna drop a name because I still work with her, but everybody knows she's very funny, but she's very dirty. Patty Rossburn.
Oh,
Patty Rossburn.
Yeah.
Okay. But so, you know, they don't normally do fundraisers, this organization.
Right.
So of course she's talking about Chichi down there. Do you shave your Chichi?
Yeah,
yes.
And I go, well, oh my God, they didn't have comedy for 4 years.
Yep.
Right.
So to cap off the story, she calls me to answer your question. She calls me again because I got a little bit of buzz.
Yeah.
Again, because I was doing Ace at Catch a Rifle. And so she's seeing this on Facebook. So she called me. She reached out to me. To be fair, she called me and she says, hey, would you like to do it? And I said, yes, this is the price.
Here's the price.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was as high as you can go, and she paid it. And you know what? That's what you have to do. You have to find your thing.
Yeah, but you said
value. That's what it was.
You said it was as high as you can go, and she paid it. But how did that show turn out?
It was unbelievable.
Yes,
it
still was a good show.
Still was a great show.
See,
and I felt so bad for her because I was like, what? She was, well, I felt weird asking you for a woman. I was like, what are you talking about?
Why?
You could have just said.
Right.
So
you know what here's the problem with the one I'd say the one complaint with fundraisers for me, you're going to get people who would never go to a comedy show.
Yes.
Right.
Bingo.
People who don't have a sense of humor. And listen, we know there are people in our lives that don't have a sense of humor. They don't find things funny. That's just them. The problem is though, they would never step foot in a comedy club. They would never go to a comedy show. But they want to support the organization, so they go to the comedy show. So I'll give you an example. I did a Funny for Funds last month. It was for a local church. And they said, and the priest, I know the priest, and he's like, I want you on the show. I go, no, you don't. I said, I am clean. But I do stuff.
He's like, I want you. And then you worry. And he goes, no, on the show. I don't mean I want you.
No.
He's like,
See,
he's starting to get worried. He's like, I want you. And he's like, what? On the show.
I don't even do jokes like that. And that's what I tried to tell him was, I am not going to do any inappropriate priest jokes or anything like that. But I do talk about growing up Catholic, and I talk about Bible stories, and I poke fun at him a little bit.
I don't go for that dirty
You
humor.
don't want that. I said, I'm telling you, you don't want that. So I will book you 2 absolutely fantastic comics who are squeaky clean, and I'll host, and I'll do a little bit of stuff about going to Catholic school, but that's it. And there were people that were coming up to me during the show literally saying, like, no one's going to be dirty tonight, right? Because I really don't like vulgar. I don't like this. I don't like that. And clearly these are people who would never step foot at a comedy show. Yeah. But they wanted to help because the church needed a new roof. They were trying to, help donate to the church. That's the reason why they were there. The comedy was secondary.
Yeah.
And it's funny. A woman came up to me and said, now, you're not going to be dirty. There's no dirty comics, right? And I said, no, absolutely not. I said, in fact, that's the reason why I'm not headlining this. Not because I'm dirty, but I do stuff about growing up Catholic and stuff. And she goes, oh, I've seen you a bunch of times. I love your stuff. You should definitely be able to do it. I go, you feel that way. There's going to be at least 25 or 30 people in here that if I start talking about the wedding at Cana and doing the drunk guy at every wedding and grabbing Jesus in a headlock and giving him a noogie, they're going to be upset. That's clean.
I had just the opposite. Yeah. I got booked to do a fundraiser for a Mason's Lodge, and I was talking to him about, the type of show, and they go, oh, we want adult humor.
We did that together, me and Tyler.
you weren't on this one. This was a different one.
Okay. They said, he didn't tell you about that one.
Yeah. They're like, we want adult humor. I said, okay, so like no restrictions. They go, no, it doesn't matter. Subject matter, language, whatever you want to do. We don't care. We don't get offended. Whatever you want to do. Now, even with that, I still kind of go a little easy. I don't want to punch him in the face for the first show that we do. Yeah. And we did the show, and we raised like $9,000 that night. It was a huge success. Yet, this couple, this older man and woman, contacted Funny for Funds, the guy that started it, and complained, I don't understand why they have to use foul language. Why can't they act like they're in church telling jokes?
Because you don't fucking tell jokes in church.
I don't get it. He goes, I go to a ton of these fundraisers, and every time I go, comedians always swear and always this, always that. And Billy reaches out to me, and he's like, when they booked the show, did they say they want clean or dirty? I said, no, they wanted full adult, no hold back. And he goes, oh, well, the guy gets what he gets. But to your point, I'm using your line. This is a guy that doesn't go to comedy clubs. He went to support the fundraiser. And you know what? It said on the ticket, adult show and everything like that. Yeah. You're not going to please everybody.
No, that's the problem.
That's the hard part.
I just did a resort called Villa Roma. It's in New York. Villa Roma.
Heard of that. Yeah,
okay.
I've heard of that.
So it's a resort, indoor, outdoor pool, blah, blah, blah. It's got some timeshares. It's been around for a while. They have 2 rooms. They have a smaller room. They have a larger room. The first 2 shows go great. And they book me again. And now I'm in this large room and I'm okay. He says, okay, this is like 2 weeks ago. And you guys will definitely have something to say about this. I I walk in, and there's nobody opening up. You're the guy. That's it.
One person show.
You're doing 40, 45 minutes. So it's a lot of and you know this, guys. If you're just the only guy, you got to be the host. You got to go out there, say hello to everybody
go up
first.
Cold. Yeah, right.
Go up cold. Okay. I go out there, and there's literally, I'd say minimum 8 to 10 children in the room.
Oh,
yep.
I hate when I see that.
No, hold it right there. Hold it right there. 8 to 10 children. Half of them are in the front.
Of course.
Well, where else would they be? They can't see you
Right.
otherwise.
Sitting crisscross
And when I say-
applesauce right up front.
When I say children, I mean like
5 or 6.
7 to 8 year olds, 7 to 8 year olds.
Little kids.
Yeah, little kids. And now hold it right there. So you say, okay, that's fine. I get it. You don't have a babysitter. You're at a resort. You want to see comedy. Okay, that's fine. This was a good one. This never happened. I'm going into one of my jokes, and the bit is that my wife planned a romantic evening. She says, so I go it. So if any comedian knows the buildup, you know there's going to be a twist at the end. She says we're going to make fancy drinks. She said that we're going to dim the lights. She says we're going to get the video camera out. And I have this mom goes like this to me. She goes, ahem, ahem. I go, she points to the 8-year-old. She goes, he's 7. I go,
why the fuck is he at a comedy show?
That's what I said. I said, why is he here? Well,
I'm not a magician.
I'm babysitting, so I try to. What the fuck? Who babysits? I was like, you're the grandmother. So I try to smooth it out a little bit and go, wow, you don't even look like a grandmother. It's great, whatever, like that. And I said, well, let me just finish the joke. And the joke goes that you get the video camera out, and my wife goes, we're gonna do something we haven't done in a long time. We're gonna watch our wedding video. So that was the end, right? And I go, you see where I was going with that?
But she blocked your punchline.
Yeah, she caught, and kind of like people around her were kind of like it was just an awkward vibe. So I finish 45 minutes, I get off, and do you know that the guy calls me the next day and he goes, hey, how did your set go last night? I got a call.
Yeah.
I felt like going, like 22 years in the business. I work with Ace. There was no problem. Just one time, this fucking little 7-year-old ruins my career. Hey. Okay, I was skyrocketing like a skyrocket to the top.
Now let me ask you.
I gotta real quick on Facebook. The other day, it came up in my memories. I was doing a show. It was supposed to be a Jack and Jill party. There wasn't supposed to be any kids there. Ended up being kids there. They said they were taking the kids out of the room, but somebody snapped a picture. It's me standing on stage with the microphone, and about 4 feet behind me, there's a little kid about 5 years old with a Nerf gun pointing it at the back of me. And that picture just says it all right in that moment as I'm standing there trying to entertain the crowd who's not paying attention to me, and this kid pointing a Nerf gun at the back of my head. That is so perfect.
Now wait, more importantly, who books that?
Yeah, exactly. Can you send his number?
I will send the number. But remember, can you do 7 and 8-year-old? because they're going to be, But he did apologize. Though he did apologize.
I've told the story before. I was doing comedy maybe 2 years. I got hired to do the Providence Waterfront Festival. There were literally tents set up all along the waterfront in Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, I
remember.
And
I'm sitting there. And all of a sudden, these middle school kids all come and sit in the front row. And I'm doing my material, and they're going, you suck.
No.
And literally, John, you know what I did? You know how I recovered? You guys like cartoons? Yeah. Okay. You want to hear Scooby-Doo? Sure. Okay, Raggy. Like Zoink Scoob, we gotta get out of here. I literally did fucking impressions for 15 minutes.
He was like a monkey on a crank organ.
Yep, absolutely. Dance monkey. That was me.
So I got a good one for you with fundraisers and children. So at the risk of sounding, oh no.
Stop bragging, John.
Why are you rubbing your success in our face now? I mean, seriously, what an
Listen,
asshole.
let me at least have my Thursday night where I feel special.
Okay.
Because after this, I'm going to throw out the garbage, cut the grass, and pick up my son.
Go get your son. Yeah.
And it's just, and then my wife will be like, did they pay you for that little podcast? I was like, no. She's like, oh, okay. So you do it for free.
Yeah.
Is that the free thing? Okay.
I've had that conversation so many times.
Yeah. We don't get paid to do this shit either.
So I'm like, this is about I'm like 2-3 years in the business, and I get a call from a friend who was running the local Relay for Life. And he goes, do you want to do comedy? And I'm going, hey, it's an outdoor event, I don't know. And he's like, yeah, but the local paper's going to be there, and just go up there and do 15, 20 minutes, whatever like that. And I'm going, well, it's Relay for Life.
You'll get exposure.
Yeah.
Exposure, right?
More than working with Ace.
Listen, looking back, I probably should have did a relay run, like a relay race, instead of a Relay for Life.
Relay for Ace.
Yeah, and so yeah, Relay for Ace. I like that. So the guy before me was, I think, no, it was Irish step dancers before me. And the host goes back up. Listen,
always great to follow Irish step dancers.
And so the host did a good job. He really did. He says, "Listen, guys, hey, especially parents, gather around. Really funny guy. Blah 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 blah. Really did a great job of bringing everybody close. Everybody else was there, and he brings me up, and I remember that this was the first time my in-laws saw me. And I invite, of course. Yeah,
the mistake of inviting in-laws to a shit show.
You know what's coming, Ace. Yep. You know what's coming. So my father-in-law, mother-in-law, old school Italians, they still look at me 20 years later like, well, what did you do?
She could have done better.
She could have did better. Yeah. And not being married. Not even being married. Just being single and miserable. She would have been better. She would have been here.
They're like, who booked him?
So he's there, and and so they introduce me, and it's going okay. Yep. For the first 5 minutes, I'm just staying on who's married, who's dating, blah blah blah, and I'm getting some laughs. And then I see this woman coming towards me, 100 miles an hour, screaming. I'm going, what the fuck is this? What is she doing? She's going, I can't find my Trevor. Can you please page Trevor? And I'm going, so anyway, my wife's cooking. And Trevor, can you please report to the comedian stage during his set? Trevor.
You know what this reminds me of? Yep. Do you know Paul D'Angelo, comic from Boston? Yeah. Paul told a similar story where he was doing an outside show, and all of a sudden they go, we have a lost boy, and it's at a beach. And they're like, Deontay, come back. Mama loves you. Deontay, where are you? Just sweeping the fucking water.
He wasn't lost. He left.
Oh, my God.
They literally walked up while Paul was doing his act and took the mic from him to announce for Deontay to come back.
Crazy. It's funny. Situations that we're put in, right?
But it's so funny because people don't understand. I think the biggest misconception is people will go home, and you guys know this, is we get such, we literally, it really helps your soul and your health. We still overall get a kick out of it. People go home and they go, oh, I felt so bad. And we're laughing. We're enjoying it the way life is supposed to be. Like we tell these stories and we're like, hey, high-fiving each other. Like, oh my God.
and so it's funny you bring that up because we've kind of gone all over the place. We usually, kind of ease into it by asking people where they live, how they grew up, blah, blah, blah. But what's funny is,
I'm sorry, this is my only appearance.
No. We always end the show.
Aren't I going to come on again and talk about?
Of course.
Not after this appearance.
After this,
not after this train wreck. Let me tell you.
Wait. This will be good. This will be good at the next podcast with somebody else. I'll be going, yeah, they said they were going to have me back, and now they don't even answer my calls, my emails, nothing. Horror stories about podcasts.
I think I'm blocked.
No.
You should have a little boy on and go, you're much funnier than John Iavarone.
Yeah.
Some little boy that goes, I was at this show in the front row.
Yeah.
And this comedian came out.
Comedian told these jokes.
I haven't been the same ever since.
No, but we normally end the show with the funny bad gig story. And you've already told one, but the fact that you've been doing it 22 years, I'm sure you got a few more in you.
And we talk about it all the time. Comedians, we love to share those. They're like war stories. Yeah, exactly. This is what we do in the green room. We hang out and we compare these type
and
of
that's
stories
what this show
with
is
each
all
other.
about.
Well, the third gig I ever did was at a place called Callaloo Cafe. And it was in New Jersey, and I forget who it was, but he'd take me out to do 8 minutes, 7 minutes, maybe, maybe 4. That was funny, but he just needed time in front of him, and he would always say, "You got to do time, you got to do time," and I didn't know anything, so I do my time, I get off stage, and I introduce him. He's on stage doing great, and I'm back there, and it's a bar and grill,
right?
And I start smelling smoke, and I'm going, "Geez, what is going on?" And the owner tells me, "Hey, we have like a smoke. Somebody burnt something in the kitchen, and the fire department is coming. The smoke alarm went off." He goes, "You got to tell him to wrap it up." No, I'm sorry. Let me back up. He said he didn't do any gestures. He goes, "Tell him to wrap it up. Tell him to wrap it up. I got to get people out of there." So me, I know it all because I know everything. Yeah. So I go close to him, and I say, "Wrap it up." But meanwhile, I'm giving the stretch signal because I didn't know the signals. I got them crisscrossed, applesauce. So the owner comes back. The fire department's there, and the guy goes, "He's got to get off stage. It's the smoke's going to start going into the room. The kitchen is a freaking mess." I go, "Well, I gave him the sign." He goes, "Fucking headliners, man. They never want to get off stage." Meanwhile,
you were telling him to stretch.
I'm telling him to stretch. I'm telling him stretch. And I denied it. The guy goes, "Well, what was his problem?" I was like, "I don't know. There was a fire or something."
Hey, wrap it up. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Isn't that awesome? And the fire department comes and they just come right into it. They just come right into his act. They just came right into him.
Hoses over their shoulders. Right?
Well, Ace, it's a local a volunteer fire department, so you know they're gung ho.
They're ready to open up the nozzles on you.
Oh, they want to cut holes in the roof. They want to punch windows out.
They want to use everything they do on their weekend drills.
Every tool they've practiced on, they want to use on this one.
Oh my God!
It was great.
Now that was your third gig. Do you remember your first one? Where was the first place you ever performed at?
Yeah, well, I'd say, years ago, you had to. I took a class at the Comic Strip Live. I was living around the corner from Comic Strip Live, and it was a 6-week course, and you go once a week, and you'd work. You put together 5 minutes of stuff, and they put you, and it was really good. What they did was they put you in a regular show.
Oh wow! They sprinkle you in.
Yeah, they sprinkle you in with like guys like Chris Rock and stuff, and like working like local and national headlines, and they just give you 5 minutes, but they go over your stuff. So that the guy would say, "Yeah, he's good," and the guy would say, "Just do your," and which I thought was great because you got you got a regular audience. You didn't
Right.
get the
Yeah.
audience that's I'm here to see Jimmy. I'm
You
here to
didn't-
see
Right.
Well,
right.
that's the
But
thing.
was that
because we get-
intimidating for your first time? I'm sorry. Ace,
You know,
I
it
cut
wasn't
you.
intimidating because I was on that stage like for 6 weeks. They made you like go up and say
Yeah,
what you thought,
okay.
work on your stuff. So
Yeah.
and you know the comic strip it was it was during the week. So there was about like 40 people there. It wasn't a Friday or Saturday night.
Right.
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 And then after that you just hunt and you
Right.
try to the
Right.
guy always told me try to make your own shows, you know, go to restaurants, go to stuff.
Right.
And I think what happened, a couple of the headliners liked me because I was clean. They called me, oh, he's got popcorn humor. You know, it's
Yep.
kind of like fun. And I'll tell you this. And Ace, and just give me your opinion on this. When I first started, I was high energy, and they would all tell me, hey, you should really
Tone it down a little.
yeah, you should really tone it down. It's kind
When
of
did you lose your energy? Because you're very low key.
You've been working on it, right?
Well, I was always, you know, this is Upper East Side, New York. Everybody would go on and say, so I was on the subway yesterday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's like, I just wanted, listen, it wasn't me.
You wanted to be different.
I always say
That's who
it's-
you were.
that's who I was.
Yeah.
And so I stopped for a while. And then what I noticed was, when I started doing the high energy, I was like, hey, I got to punch him in the face when you first come out because I was getting, this was it. I was hosting a lot. And when you're emceeing, you're hosting, you got to do something
You
to
gotta
like
engage the crowd and get them
Yeah.
going and make them feel like, hey, I'm at
Yeah.
a comedy show, right?
So I'd always, go up there and say, hey, listen, they didn't have my intro music. Let's make our own. And I'd have everybody start clapping. And I'd say, everybody clap, you in the back. And then I'd point people out. There would always be one person not clapping. And then
Right.
I'd say, everybody dance. And then, I'd say, and it got everybody's attention. But then when you follow it up with good humor, and then the guy's like, this guy's got some stuff, and it separates you. So, the
Right.
story is, there was a lot of people that said, don't stop with you're just jumping around, whatever like that. But that's just me, that's
right. That's your style. Now,
so
let
I
me
started
ask you this.
now. Yeah.
Did you ever do any warm-up comedy? Because isn't that what warm-up is all
Yeah.
about? It's engaging an
I
audience.
did warm up. Well, it's funny. I did warm up for MTV. MTV, this was, I'd say, MTV
For the
in
metal
its,
show.
Yeah, that metal show. Jim Florentine pulled you aside and was like, "Hey, you gotta calm the fuck down."
it was
Headbangers
great.
Ball.
There was a game show. Called Lip Service.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was on that show, and then they say, one of the guys said, "Hey, the way comics are, like, it was so, like, no matter where you go, you always, like, you could be at a wake, and after the prayers and everything like that, you could be like, hey, this just kind of reminds me of the gig I did. I did a gig
right.
a little. It always goes back to the comic for some reason.
Of course, yeah.
So he was like, hey, you should be a warm up guy for. We have, that's what MTV had, the game shows and
Right.
all that stuff,
Win
and it
Ben
was.
Stein's money and all
It
of
was
those things.
so-
Remote control.
Remote control. I did. It was so easy, and that's fun, and because you get a lot of out of towners. But
Yeah.
now, what I don't like about the business, unfortunately, I don't like about the there's so many shows that are crap shows, and I don't mean it to be like, oh, come on, no, you cannot have a show with like 7, 8 comedians. You're looking at these guys and like, these are not comedians. There's one guy who is maybe a host, and he's headlining.
We see it all the time.
Well,
dude,
you see
I'm
the- you
telling
see
you
the
right now,
flyers.
I started 7 or 8 years ago. I started seeing the same exact thing. And this isn't to shit on anyone. It's just there are guys out there that feel as if they don't have to pay their dues.
No.
And they're trying to they're like, well, all I'm ever going to get is hosting gigs at the local comedy club, or I might work up to features. So I'm going to book my own show and I'm going to headline it.
Yeah,
And it's like, you're not ready to headline.
This is what it's done. When and you guys know this. If years ago, if you said, hey, you do you do comedy? And I'm like, yeah. And they'd be like, wow, really? Like, oh my God. Like now you have guys that literally like, I know, like you could work somewhere but if you're not featuring, you should not have on your Facebook page, Instagram, like comedian. You should not have that because it diluted it so much that now I don't even want to say it. Like, because every time I say that, oh yeah, my uncle does that. Like, where does he work? I go, where does he work?
Yeah.
Well, he does this.
Now it's about Facebook.
I'm not bitter though. I'm not bitter at all.
I get it. Listen,
well, now it's about social media followers. It's not about
these people don't even have that. That's the problem. We were right before we went on. He asked me about someone that reached out to him.
Yeah.
And I looked the guy up, and he was on a website. And I'm not going to name the website, but it was like a comedy booker website out of the Boston area. I looked through that, and I recognized 3 people.
Out of a lot of people.
Out of probably 20, I recognize 3, none of which are billed as headliners, but they're on this site as bookable comics. And so what I started saying before was I saw that 7 or 8 years ago, and I had an idea for, and I know you already saw it. It's on Facebook because I have one coming up. I'm like, I always had this idea for a Royal Flush comedy show. Joker, Jack, Queen, King, Ace. 5 comics, all professional except for the Joker. Well, the Jack is a guest set. It's a 5 to 7 minute set, but I'm going to pay you. And I pay probably more than most people to make an opening, right? For a 5 to 7 minute set. Yeah. I started doing it at a casino down in Newport, Rhode Island. Had a great run for 4 years. The casino closed. I didn't do it for a couple of years.
Is that Twin River? Was that Twin River?
No, it was the other one down in Newport. It was Newport.
Oh, the Triplet. The Triplet. Was that the Triplet River? Maybe the Triplet River.
Yeah, Triplet River down south. No, but what happened was I did it, and then I started seeing these flyers popping up again, and I'm looking at people who are literally hosts on shows that I headline, and they're headlining a show. And they're charging $20 for these fucking shows. And I'm doing a show where I've got 3 headliners, me and 2 other headliners, a guest set, and a solid feature. And I was charging $20. I'm like, what am I doing? Yeah. And I started doing the show again. But there's so much noise out there. Yeah. There's so much noise with these other shows. And I get it. People all want to move up. But you got to pay your dues. I've got people that I know that literally took like 10 years off. They come back, but because they started with me, they think they should be headlining.
Well,
we started the same time. Yeah, but you took 10 years off.
Here's the solution. And I always say this. I always bring this up because people always say, okay, you can sit around, you can talk about stuff, or you can complain. Okay, well, wait a minute, John. What is the solution? And I'll tell you what it is. This is what separates comedy, and this is how it's separated from other businesses. If I say I'm an actor, okay, but now I say I'm SAG and AFTRA. I'm in SAG and AFTRA. Right. That holds some clout, right? Yep. Okay. Now, if I say I'm in musical theater, I perform in the theater. Yep. I'm in equity.
I'm equity, right?
Okay. Now, same thing like a carpenter. You know, I'm in the union.
Local. How many years have comics been trying to create a union?
And it's so funny. I wish, and I don't know how to do this, but I wish if every flyer, if you can look and see a certification where these guys are somehow, then that would be the difference of, but I don't know, like there's a show going on Friday. Let me just see. Wait, but I don't know. Like it doesn't have that.
You know what the problem is? You know what the problem is? It's because anytime comics talk about collectively getting together, club owners fucking pucker. Yeah. They pucker up because then they think that, oh shit, we can't still pay headliners shit money. Unless they're famous. So the local headliners are going to start demanding more if they're in a union. And honestly, I think I would join a union more for what you're talking about than trying to squeeze more money out of a club owner.
Right.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Right.
I wish that there was a board or something where you could go through maybe
Like the
three,
American Comics Association. Let's start it. The ACA.
three, like I would say you have to do three, like I'd say 20-minute sets, different, and you can get certified where you at least there's something that separates this guy that you're going to see, and you're looking at him going, well, he works at Costco. Yeah, he's going to have 3 to 5 minutes of funny stuff, but some of it is just premise. So if there was one little
Some criteria.
something at all. But I think it's so funny because we're the only ones that don't.
Yeah, with the only people in entertainment that don't have that, right?
Yeah, and it's.
I think we should start it. The American Comic Association.
Well, being that this is the one. I don't know if you know this, but I think I'm pretty sure this is the 1 billionth airing of a podcast on of all the podcasts. This is the 1 billionth airing. I just found that out today. It popped up on. I was like, wow, this is amazing. How could I separate this podcast from everything? And
believe me, we've been trying for 6 fucking years
to do something to separate us.
We're trying to do something to separate. Hey, we're on IMDb, so we are certified. We're legit.
Yeah.
Because some of the people, not so much you, but some of the people that have been on have legitimate like credits and TV credits and stuff like that. So we always put them on IMDb.
Yeah, we couldn't find you on there, but others we found easily.
That's what I said. Yeah, we've had a lot of guests, not so much you.
Yeah,
but
I typed in your name on IMDb and it came back.
Who the fuck is that? Did he work with Ace once?
Yeah, I googled your name and it said guy that worked with Ace.
I think that should be the name of the of this episode.
Guy that worked with Ace.
Iavarone. I worked with Ace.
Every time they can't say my name, I always go. Well, I always say it's Iavarone. Well, they like, how do you pronounce it? I go, he worked with Ace, and that's what. Just say he worked with Ace, and that's it. So,
That is definitely the name of the podcast.
It is,
he worked with Ace.
Hey, a couple of weeks ago, we had Jonathan Groff, who's a writer. You know Jonathan Groff, the comedian writer? Yeah. And we named the episode Jonathan Groff. No, not that one. Because even Scott, when I said, hey, I got Jonathan Groff, he goes, you got the guy from Hamilton? I'm like, no, not that one.
I was all excited. The guy from Mindhunter and Hamilton. He goes, no, not that one.
It's funny because I don't do that many like charities or functions for churches, but
recently, fuck those people.
Recently I got close to almost doing one for the Pope. So there was this gala a couple of weeks ago. It was the 50th anniversary of a Catholic organization, and I know the lady there. I never really pushed hosting the gala. She knows what I do, and they hire somebody from a local radio station. I mean, basically, they hire somebody, legit. Anyway, so she calls me. She calls me up like 3 days before the show, and she's like, you have to help me out, John. Really, you have to help me out. She goes, Mike from Mike and Casey in the Morning backed out. And I go, no, not Mike and Casey in the Morning. And he goes, yeah, he just backed out. And meanwhile, it's funny because I go to her, I go, oh my God, thank you for calling and thinking of me. And not even a second goes by. She goes, well, we did ask the person who we recommended. So it was
you were third in line.
They ran out of numbers.
They called me. They didn't even call me. They called somebody else too, and he wasn't available. So there was a gala.
John, we just randomly dialed and happened to get your number.
Yeah, they called my wife, and she was like, nah. They called the little kid at Villaroma. He was like, nah,
don't get that guy. And
I saw him once. You don't want him.
Yeah. And I gotta tell you, I don't know if this is great. This is a great question to ask you guys. Even still now, do you get nervous? Because I was really nervous that night. The Cardinal of New York was there.
I saw your pictures on Facebook.
I would for that.
I saw you posted them.
I
would for that. Absolutely. If you've seen my act, I would be sweating.
Well, it's funny. How many, and this is why only comics really understand the gift and the blessing, of being a comic, that we have these stories that are unbelievable. I mean, the best advice that I got was that night I get there and it is beautiful, the place. Absolutely beautiful. 300 people coming. The Cardinal was honored. All the dignitaries. I mean, it was so funny because I said, "Oh my God, soup to nuts," but there was really no nut. Nobody has nuts anymore at the end.
No,
I mean, so I don't.
Well, you can't ask that question.
Yeah,
anyway.
you're not
Well,
supposed to.
especially.
Well,
So I'm sweating, and I looked nervous.
yeah.
And there was a script, but you had to keep it rolling along.
Right.
Right.
The host.
Right.
Yeah,
The
absolutely.
host, you got to come out and make, get a few laughs at least. And I'm going, geez, and I'm just sweating. And I think of something, and I'm like, I don't know if that's going to get a laugh. That's too corny. And this little older nun comes up to me. I'm total true story. She's shorter than me, so she's got to be 3 feet. She's shorter than me. She's got to be 3 feet. And she goes, I didn't know you were going to be here. And I said, "Oh, hi, sister." And she says, I looked you up on YouTube. And I go, oh, no. I said, I'm not going to do that, and she goes, "No, do that. Be yourself. Go have fun."
Wow.
And it was,
Wow.
I mean, could you believe 22 years in the business, a 3-foot nun comes up to me, and total street credit too, because she
Right.
said, "I looked you up," and the clip of me online it's not dirty. It's a little
Right.
bit,
Maybe a
but
little risque.
and she goes, "No." She goes, "Have fun. Go be yourself. Go do your thing. Go,
Wow,
go."
good for her.
And all of a sudden, I just took a deep breath and exhaled,
Yep.
and I was like, "Let's have some fun." And I just said this thing about the twist was, I thought I was being honored, that night. And, the Cardinal was right in front of me laughing, and I'm going, my gosh, if that nun didn't come up to me, I probably would have
You probably wouldn't have
Right.
said that. Right.
Right.
choked a little bit. I
Nope.
probably, so
That's what you needed to hear right at that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
that's what I need to hear. And people don't understand. They go home, other people go home and they go, I don't know, like he's still trying. Because I think when you do comedy, it's kind of, even though you could be making a living and doing well,
Yep.
and being happy, it's based, I think, on being famous, more famous than making money. Because if you're not famous, they always go, "Oh, you're still trying to do that comedy thing?" And I'm like, "Well, are you
Right.
still trying to do that stripper thing? You got fat and ugly, you whore."
right.
It's not. I'm not-
You're absolutely right, because we've had guys on here that we're friends with that have been doing, had what I consider successful comedy careers
But
for
they're not household
40
names.
years, but people don't necessarily know their names, but they've supported their families for
Yes.
40 years doing nothing but comedy.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at a Tony V.
Max Ocelli.
Max
Oh,
Docelli.
Max
You know?
and by the way, the sweetest guy in the world. I did a show with
Nicest
Max.
guy.
Yeah.
Like 8 years ago, he goes, "Hey, do you want to do cruise ships?" He goes, "You'd be perfect cruise ship." He goes, "Let me know." He goes, "These are the 2 names." I had no idea who he was. He goes,
Yeah,
"Hey,
right.
these 2 names, if you want to call them." And I'm like, I don't want to do cruise ships because I'm funnier than you. No, I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
No, but the
Yeah,
sweetest
until
guy.
you
and-
needed the money.
I've been friends with Max for 15 years now, and he is just a sweetheart of a man.
And I
Sweetheart
think-
of a man.
I really think that you cannot. I mean, there's people in my family that don't come out a lot, and recently, one cousin hadn't seen me for like 10 years, and she's like, "You know what?" She goes, "You can't explain that. You have comedy. It has to. When you go see live comedy,
Yes.
there's nothing like it. You
that.
could, you guys know this. You could watch it on TV, but there's not that
different.
vibe there.
Well, it's just like, honestly, this is where I do think we're like a live band or live music. there's nothing like going out and listening to live music. You can listen to it in your car, you can listen to it on the radio, you can listen to it at home, but there is nothing like sitting in a room with a live band playing.
Because there's a spontaneity of the moment.
Right.
Something could happen. And you know, you watch things happen organically, and, you know, you're there and you're part of it. And, you know, I think that's what makes it fun. You know, I've been to a couple concerts recently, and things happened in the moment, and you were there and you got to see it. And it's the same thing with comedy. You know, it's you go to see a comedian twice. You may hear similar jokes, but things happen differently. The experience is different.
The audience,
you know,
response
and that's what makes it fun.
Right.
Hey, I did a show with Joey Cola once, and
Yeah.
I'll never. This is years ago, and I think it was at an orchard, and somebody threw an apple at the host. Somebody threw and hit the host in the head with an apple. And I mean, you can't explain that. You had to see it,
and that'll never happen again. Hopefully, no. So let me ask you this: besides working with me, what are some of your highlights?
There are no other highlights.
No, we always ask our guests, like, what are some of the highlights of your career? In
He
other words,
wouldn't have a career if he didn't work with you.
Well, I know that. People who you've gotten to work with that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm working with this person, or places that you were like, wow, I'm on this stage. I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah, there were like two moments that I remember, and then I got to get going. I got another podcast to do. It's called Pick Up Little Johnny.
At baseball practice.
It's actually the kid that was at his show that does his own podcast.
The kid. My wife's telling me to wrap it up.
Yeah.
And she knows the signal more than I do.
She's going.
She's doing stretch. She's actually saying stretch.
I'm waiting for her to pop on the screen and go, Johnny has to go home. It's time to go.
I'm going to hear it now because when I first got on, she whispered, she goes, "You're scaring the dog." Because I was and I was like, and
he lives with me. He's not used to this shit.
Get the fuck out of here. He can leave if he wants.
He just turned into Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. He fucking let him go.
This is where I am in my career. Like you think Seinfeld's wife is saying that you're gonna scare the dog? Like, such a fucking what a life.
Jerry, you're scaring the dog.
Holy shit! You think Chris Rock's like, girl, he's scaring the dog? Like, fuck the dog. No.
Fuck the dog. Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, back to me.
Yes, back to you, John.
So the first time, I got to tell you, it was Borgata, and it was packed. And going out there opening, for Vic DiBitetto, and before it was kind of magic because I knew he you know, this was the thick of it. He was doing the videos, and I said, "Hey Vic," I said, "I got an idea for a video," and he was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And I said, "Everybody, you know, you make fun of your last name. Nobody can say the last name."
Yeah.
And I said, "Let's do something with the last name." So that I said, I had this thing. So he goes, "Let's record it." So it was really quick. I said, Vic, I said, you know, somebody's recording. I said, "Vic, I'm good with your last name." He goes, "Go ahead, say it again." I said, DiBitetto. I said, I got it spelled out. I wrote it 100 times. I DiBitetto. And he goes, "All right, let me see you announce it." So I said, he goes, say what you're going to say right now in front of like 900 people. And I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Rick DiBitetto." And he loved it. Yeah. I went out there and killed. And I got back, and this is the height of milk and bread. Right. So I do 15 minutes, kill, and I come back off and he goes, "Dude, you just killed at the Borgata." He goes, "Nobody could ever take that away from you."
That's awesome.
And it was so funny because like 2 weeks later, guess what? One of my friends said, "Hey, I went to go see Vic, and he plays the videos before his show, and you were in it."
He added your video.
He added the video.
So cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, that was cool. So that was like one of the highlights. And then the other highlight was obviously at the Strip. I started getting spots, and then I get off stage, and I just hit a hot night one time, and I get off stage, and Chris Rock, who wasn't exactly Chris Rock, and he just looked. He was like, "That was a great set, man."
Wow.
And that was kind of cool. But that was, and of course, being asked to come back on the podcast again with you guys would be
that'll make your night.
Whoa,
Well,
easy on that.
No, I don't think. No. He's the problem with having him back on, Scott, is he's such a wallflower. We had to drag shit out of him.
Oh my
God,
God, I'm exhausted. I'm
really
exhausted.
Wait, hang on a second, guys. Play with me for a little while, honey. They want to know where to make the check out to. The check, like what?
Well, yeah. Venmo. We can Venmo.
No. Okay, they're gonna vet. Okay, so no, we got it. Thank you, Ace. I got to get going, guys. Thank you so much.
Hey, listen, thank you so much, man. We'll definitely have you on again. You already told like 3 funny bad gig stories, so we'll let it.
Johnny, great getting to know you, man. Great
Absolutely.
stories.
Thank you, brother.
We'll have you on again on a night that you don't have baseball. Oh my God, I fucking love that guy. He's so funny.
Holy shit.
He was shot out of a cannon, and you know what? That's how he was when I worked with him. He was just so personable and so cool to talk to.
Easy to talk to.
Oh my God,
great stories. I mean, and you could tell he's a genuine guy.
Awesome guy.
Genuine guy. Very funny guy. Definitely someone, I'm telling you, I can already tell I want to work with him.
Yeah,
now.
he's so cool,
I definitely
right?
want to work with him because I bet you he's absolutely hilarious. I mean, you worked with him. I didn't, but you could tell, folks, I mean.
Quick-witted, very fast. It's like a lot of those New York guys are like that, though.
Exactly.
He reminds me of like a Rich Walker. Or
Rich Walker, Vic DiBenedetto.
DeBetto.
Is it DeBetto
I don't know.
or
I thought it was
DiBenedetto?
DiBenedetto, but I don't know. We're fucking it up, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Listen, if he wants to come on the podcast to correct us, I'd be more than happy
I'm going to say it wrong on purpose.
Yeah.
Dick DiBenedetto. Come on and correct me, Vic.
Yeah, please.
But no, you're right. That New York, bust your balls, quick-witted sense of humor.
You feel like you know him. Like, I worked with him once. 7 or 8 years ago, and it was like we just
immediately when we brought him on, it was right into the stories.
Yeah,
and right into the back and forth.
I knew he was going to be a great guest.
He was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. So I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as we did. That's what it is like, literally hanging out in a green room with a comic. If this was like the first night I worked with him, that was us sitting on the couches, shooting the shit in between the 2 shows. That's exactly the glimpse that you guys would have if you were fly on the wall hanging out with the comics. That's what it's like for us. So so definitely check him out. Check out the show notes. I will put a link to like his Facebook page. You can follow him there. Check out where he's going to be if you're in his area. Go check him out. Definitely wherever you're listening to the podcast, take a moment, give us that 5-star written review. Yeah. We've gotten a couple lately, and you guys don't know how much that helps us. I mean, I know
we ask every week.
We say every week, but really it's that important.
I've said it before. When you give us a 5-star written review, it literally helps people find us. Like if someone puts in, "Oh, you know what? I want to find a new comedy podcast." You put in comedy podcast, having 5-star written reviews actually moves us up so that people actually see us.
It's like an instant B12 shot.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah,
it is.
Give us a B12 shot.
We need a B12 shot. So, you guys have been awesome, and we've had a run of just fun episodes lately.
Absolutely,
so
I know.
I hope you guys are enjoying them as much as we do. Summertime is usually a little slower for gigs, but we're going to have some great episodes coming out, man. Ace is lining up some great stuff, and unfortunately, the podcast is going to come to an end in September.
No, it's not. No, I have a great Scottober lined up. We're probably going to be recording some of those Scottober episodes in like the summer because of availability of some people. But
he is booking some spooky ass shit.
We're going to do, we may do a 2-part episode on the Payne House investigation, or just have everyone that was involved on the same show. But we've got some great shows coming up, guys. So please
just stay tuned.
Tell a
keep,
friend.
Keep downloading. Keep following. Tell a friend. 5-star written reviews. And thank you all so much. We love you guys.
And please check out our friends on the Mixtape Podcast. We love those guys.
They just had someone from Men Without Hats on.
I know.
I
they
didn't
had
get a
the
chance
guy-
to listen to it yet.
I haven't listened yet either, but it's the guy like the singer,
The lead singer from Men Without Hats?
Men Without Hats. Like,
I
these
can't wait
guys
to listen to it.
literally do. If you are a child of the 80s and 90s, you need to listen to these guys because they are
if you want
fantastic. And then right before that, they had the guy from Styx, the guy who took over for Dennis DeYoung.
Yeah.
Like, he's probably been in the band longer than Dennis DeYoung
At
has.
this point.
At this point. But he was a great guest too. So yeah, please check out our friends on the Mixtape Podcast.
And I guess that wraps it up this week.
Yeah. Other than that, we'll talk to you
Next week.